Looks cold out there. It's because it is cold out there. Look at the clouds. You think the clouds look cool in this shot? Be honest. I do.
Yeah, they kind of do. There's
Thank
some
you.
actual, like, you can see some, it's not just gray across the board. You've got blue coming through, too.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, just a quality look at downtown Jacksonville. Multiple bridges, water, boats, buildings. Battlestar Galactica. I couldn't think of anything else that started with a B, but nonetheless, we move.
Works. It works.
What's going on, folks? Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network, show that has no name. The headphone controls in here will never not confuse me. Just turning up headphone 1 because that makes sense. Nope. Go for number 3. Couldn't be number 3. Maybe number 2. I don't know. And then possibly number 4. I just turn them all up until I can hear something. So we're good. We're moving. For the next little bit, Nick in the control room. I'm Casey. Best bets. What you got,
man? Best bet's what I got?
No. I thought you were going to say something else.
You said Nick in the control room, so there's another nickname.
Yeah, all right, that's fine. You can have it, I guess. Nick in the dark, potentially, with it's funny. That shot is so funny. Like, I mess with that camera all the time. And sometimes I feel like I get it right, and a lot of times I don't. You have it as like a spotlight on you right now.
Oh, maybe I'm a little bit overexposed.
Whoa, pause. I'm not mad at it, but I'm just saying. Anyway, you power through in the control room. I'll be out here. And we'll talk about all kinds of various things, including best bets, college football playoff, Carson Beck, all kinds of things. Start with college football, though. We usually start with the NFL. Actually, I lied. We'll start with the NFL, then we'll go to college football, just real quick because Jacksonville. Remember last week when I was begging for the season to end?
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness it finally did.
You ain't kidding.
And then Doug Peterson fired.
But Balky stays for some reason?
Yeah, weird, right? Listen, you know by now there's nothing I can say that hasn't been said, but just a wild couple of days here in Jacksonville, and really it's not even wild just because the nonsense and the disaster is so normal around here that it's not even wild. It actually was just a Monday, I feel like. Hopefully it didn't impact your life too much. I know some people were super upset in the Brent and Austin chat, and that's fine. That's fair. If you pay your hard-earned money to go watch the Jags play football and they continue to do stupid stuff, I don't blame you for being upset with how things have played out. But nonetheless, Doug Peterson fired. We'll see you. Interviewing everybody under the sun are the Jags. Anybody who's been a coach or wants to be a coach can pretty much get an interview if you just head down to the stadium and knock on the gate and you have some kind of experience. They'll probably let you hold an interview, at least for a couple of seconds. Ben Johnson, obviously the hot name. We'll see how that plays out. Lions not playing football this week because they got the bye last week after beating the Minnesota Vikings, winning the division. So we'll see what the Jags do. No confidence that they will do the right thing. That's just me. Everybody else has their own opinion, but I have no confidence they will hire the right coach or do anything correctly, so I guess we'll have to just let that play out and see what happens. But I am thrilled not to have to watch the Jags play on Sunday. Very excited not to have to deal with that. It's not going to ruin my whole Sunday, because it was ruining my whole Sunday. Now I got my Sundays back, which is exciting. And there's actually good football to watch this Saturday and Sunday, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but anyway, now college football and the college football playoff. Penn State, Notre Dame. We'll start there. I can't sit here and say that you were right all season that Penn State were frauds because they got to the point that they were in.
Yeah. You don't make the semifinals as frauds.
No. But I will say the performance that they put on against Notre Dame felt a little fraudy.
You can say the same for Notre Dame, though.
Fair, but Penn State, how do we not get a wide receiver involved in the football game?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of stuff that is just like, I don't know. And I guess this is just college football right now, but like after the last round of games, I was like, we got 4 good teams here. And then after watching those 2 games, I was like, none of these teams are great.
Yeah.
They're just okay. You feel that way, or am I just kind of outside my head?
No, I'm with you. Yeah, it's a weird year in college football where I don't think there's any one super dominant team. Even though Oregon looked it, they didn't play it when they matched up with Ohio State the second time around.
Agreed.
But yeah, No, nobody's like spectacular, super good at anything as far as like the last 4, the last 2. Even Ohio State had been kind of held in check. Last night against Texas, which I was kind of surprised. I figured it would kind of be how they've boat raced everybody else. But the fourth quarter, the Jack Sawyer scoop and score and the other touchdown is what set them apart in that game. So they can win in multiple ways. So maybe Ohio State, for all the crap we've all given them after the regular season performance, the loss to Oregon, the loss to Michigan, they peaked at the right time. Ryan Day, as much as everybody wants to fire him and hate him, found a way to start winning when he needed to win.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Maybe it is Ohio State at the end of the day, and we just didn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I can see it the way that they've played for most of the playoff. Again, last night wasn't an unbelievable showing on offense, at least. I think Notre Dame has something to say for that. But I think the most interesting part of this to me is, like, look at the NFL playoffs that we're about to have, right? And just quick, I'm going to leave somebody out here, but just follow me. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels has been very good in his rookie year. Patrick Mahomes, obviously. Jared Goff has been fantastic. You see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert, Matt Stafford, elite quarterbacks.
Yeah.
In college football, in the last 4, Drew Aller, not elite. Quinn Ewers, who I got some thoughts in a second, but just not elite.
Elite moments, but not elite.
Not elite. We can argue about that in a minute. Riley Leonard.
Not elite.
Not elite. I think Will Howard is the best of the group.
Yeah.
And very much not elite.
Yeah.
It's such a wild, just different style and a different watch. Like CJ Stroud, another one, by the way, for the NFL, and who hasn't played well this year. But like the NFL thing is majority because your quarterback. Denver's a little bit different rookie quarterback, right? He has not performed the way Jaden Daniels has, but their defense is unbelievable. But that's a lot of what this college football playoff and these teams are. They run the football extremely well, and they play defense for the most part. It's not because of their quarterbacks, which I always feel like is shocking, but I really started to think about it the other night. I was like, yeah, these aren't elite. These are not first. We're not talking about these guys getting picked first, second, third in the NFL draft. Like, that's not what this is. Now, at the beginning of the year, we thought that was going to be a Quinn Ewers. We thought Carson Beck was going to be in that conversation. They are very much not at this point. Riley Leonard's not in that conversation. Drew Aller's going back to school. I don't even know what Will Howard's situation is. I think he's going to the Senior Bowl, but nobody's lined up to draft Will Howard is my point. So I just find it kind of fascinating how it shifts in really one level of football, because you are now at the elite of college football, the best 2 teams, as far as they tell us, playing for the national championship, who are very much not led by their quarterback. And at the next level, you have to be led by your quarterback for the most part, outside of a fantastic, unbelievable defense, which I think the Denver Broncos have. And I think their quarterback will get to that point where they lead them. But I just thought it was kind of an interesting idea of what we were watching. And does that make it less exciting to watch? Like, I know you said you were doing some stuff, so you were in and out of the game last night, but I found myself, don't get me wrong, I was watching, but I found myself like doing other things multiple times. And I was like, is this because I'm pretty sure the big play's not coming? Just because I don't think these teams are hitting the big play, at least in the past game. Like, a lot of what it felt like to me is we're going to wear them down with the run, and eventually we're going to get in, and that's what you got in a lot of these football games. Now, the defensive score that you mentioned was one of those big-time plays. And it's not that I'm not interested. Maybe it's just a me problem. I don't know. But I feel like there's just something where I'm like, I could also be on my phone while this is happening. Versus like, I'm not looking away from the TV, which is where I think I'll get with the NFL stuff. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You feel that way or no?
Somewhat, maybe.
There we go. I like that.
Because even looking at the entire 12-team playoff, Klubnik, not elite. Nico, not elite.
Nope. Gabriel.
Rourke, not elite. SMU guy, not elite. Boise State guy, not elite. None of these quarterbacks were elite. Can't name half of them. Really, less than half, honestly. So I think there is a big disparity in that sense. At least maybe in the current landscape of college football, it may change in a year or two when some of the guys that are freshmen or are transferring from this class or whatever
I mean, I think the thought is that Nico will be elite for Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just saying in a year or two we may have that flip back to where these teams are led by quarterbacks and not running backs.
Yeah.
Because for us, I mean, for Tennessee, it was definitely it was led by Samson, but
sure. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think I agree with you there, honestly.
And you didn't have, I mean, obviously the super exciting quarterbacks and like a Cam Ward was nowhere to be found. Shedeur Sanders, obviously.
Yeah.
Nowhere to be found as well. So, I don't know. Just thought it was an interesting kind of takeaway from that. Anyway, Notre Dame. I still feel like Notre Dame's going to be the winner here. And I don't really have a good, at this point, reason for that because Ohio State is the favorite. They should be the favorite. They've dominated in the playoffs outside of last night a little bit. But I still feel like Notre Dame is the team that gets it done. I don't know why. I just think they play defense better.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, I feel like I trust Riley Leonard more, even though Will Howard hasn't really given me any reason to not trust him in the playoff. And Riley Leonard kind of has. He's thrown some bad interceptions. But for some reason, I just feel like I'm more in on Notre Dame winning this thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like Notre Dame's going to find a way to win, where Ohio State, they found a way to win last night. I give them credit. In the regular season, though, they just didn't find a way to win in those close games. And granted, the regular season has been wiped away for what they've done in the playoffs. I just feel like I'm leaning Notre Dame a little bit as we stand right here a week and a couple days away. Where are you at?
Yeah, that's tricky. It's hard because I want to sit here and say, well, okay, Notre Dame's going to win it because they play better defense. I think they have a better run game than Quinshon Judkins. But then again, they ran all over Tennessee. I'm sure they ran all over like Oregon. They've got a run game that when it hits is potent. The struggle for me is Will Howard and Riley Leonard. Kind of what I said last night about Texas. If Texas gets in a hole, it's going to be hard for them to dig themselves out of it because they're not going to be able to push the ball like Ohio State can. That's going to be the biggest if. I mean, even maybe a one-score hole for Notre Dame.
This is going to be tough.
Could be a death sentence.
Yeah.
If it's not a defensive battle like 7-3 at the end of the first or 3-3 at the end of the first. If Ohio State comes out and drops 14 off the rip,
which they could,
it's going to be hard for Notre Dame to get back into it because Riley Leonard, I think 230 and some odd yards is whatever his highest game of the year is. He's just not going to push the ball to get him back in the game.
Yeah, they don't do that. I'll give you that.
He's not even cracked 230 yards on the season for a single game. His highest was against Stanford for 229.
So close to 230. I feel like we should just give it to him.
No, we don't round up around here. Mass bad.
That's fair. That's fair. Listen, I don't think you're wrong there. I think it would be super beneficial for Notre Dame to score first. But I think what this will come down to is, and you saw a little bit of it last night, like Jeremiah Smith was a non-factor last night. Nowhere to be found.
And I think Notre Dame's got the defense to make him a non-factor again.
Right. And my thing there is I'm with you in terms of running the football. I think Notre Dame is the better running team. So if you take away a Jeremiah Smith, can Ohio State get it done again? And really, when you're talking about the way Ohio State scored last night, you had the defensive score, which you can't plan for. You can't game plan. Yeah. You had the huge play at the end of the half, which, again, you can't really scheme up 75-yard plays. They didn't think that play was hitting for 75, but lo and behold, it happened. And then you had 2 short rushing touchdowns. Like, Notre Dame can play that. If you just tackle Buddy on the 75-yard touchdown and the defensive score doesn't happen, Ohio State didn't play that well on offense. So I think Notre Dame, as you said, is very capable of taking away the receivers that they need to take away. Then it comes down to, can Will Howard not make mistakes, and can they run the football a little bit better than they did last night, which I don't know if they can. But I fully agree with you. If they come out and hit one of these 75-yard plays on the first play, Notre Dame's in trouble.
Yeah, 100%.
Big trouble. And I like Riley Leonard. That's fine.
No, I do too.
But Notre Dame plays a style that you cannot be down big. They need to run the football. Their quarterback needs to run the football.
It's game control football.
It's exactly that. It is exactly that. And that probably should scare you a little bit if you're a Notre Dame fan, just because of what happened with Oregon. You can have the game plan. You can have everything right. And if your corner slips, bye-bye. Jeremiah Smith, we'll see you. So I think it has the makings for good football. I think the likely scenario is it's pretty ugly for the most part. I think low scoring. I'd be surprised if this one ended up like 31-28, something like that. I think we're talking like 21-17, 24-21. And is that a quarterback thing? Is that a defense thing? Is that a game style thing? I don't know. But I think it's interesting that these are the two teams that we end up with, which brings me to a conversation point that is all over social media, it feels like. Is the SEC just not dominant now because they are not the only ones paying players? Now that it's legal, everyone's paying players. Have you bought into this theory at all?
It does bring around the question and the curiosity of it. I know Pat McAfee has because he ribbed Saban for it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Maybe. I'm not going to say it's a definite thing, but it's a maybe. Because we'll never truly know. Because if it ever came out that for the 13 years prior to NIL that Saban played or paid players to come to Alabama and play, gave them free Dodge Challengers and Chargers and whatnot. I mean, that would be the worst scandal in all of college football because then you're going to sit there and say, well, all right, death penalty to the University of Alabama, which NCAA would never touch.
Nope.
They wouldn't. You'd have to vacate all the championships and wins.
And bro just got in the Hall of Fame last night. Did you see that?
Yeah. I told him on the desk. He's like, huh?
Real quick, before you get back to your thought, because I want to get this in. So when they start hitting him with the you're going to be a college football Hall of Famer, he's like, oh, really? It's like, what do you mean, really, you moron? You've won more than anybody. Like, yeah, of course it's going to he was like surprised. Like, oh, didn't expect this. Really? You didn't? I just hate that part. Like, I just, at one time, like, how great of a moment would have been if he's like, well, about time. I've been retired for a whole 8 months. Like, just some ego.
8 months, yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway, go on.
No, they wouldn't ever, like, make that come to light.
Sure, I agree.
Because that would be the worst thing to happen to college football. It would be the death of the NCAA, I think, or it'd be the NCAA's biggest move to reestablish itself to have power over college athletics, but doubt that's going to happen either. It's something else.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here.
Well, yeah. For a second there, I kind of forgot what the question was after we got off, but got back on. Have they gotten a bit less dominant? Maybe.
A bit? They're not even...
Pause.
All right.
I don't think it's fully the fact that the NIL is a thing. I think it's the addition of Texas and Oklahoma throwing the schedules off, where you play, I think, one more in-conference game.
But Texas was your best team this year, your best showing.
No, I know, but what I'm getting at here is that the SEC ate itself alive before it ever had a chance. Like Tennessee dropping to Arkansas, Bama dropping to Tennessee and Vanderbilt, Georgia losing to Ole Miss and Alabama midseason. Like, it didn't help the case at the end of the day.
Sure.
And then I think it's an unfortunate moment in time for the SEC as well, with Georgia's injury bug and then Carson Beck getting hurt, which probably hindered them altogether.
Still don't think they win that game with Carson Beck. But I'm not arguing. I mean, I think you're right. But
yeah. I don't think that Milroe was ever going to be the guy to lift Bama.
Agreed.
Downgrading a coach. And another thing is, I'll throw this out. If Bama doesn't make the CFP next year and advance to a quarterfinal, semifinal, whatever, is DeBoer gone?
No. Where are you going to go?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, it depends on what it looks like. I mean, Here's the thing. I don't know. I'm obviously not in Alabama. But if they play Keelan Robinson, who I think is who they're going to play, who's a true freshman, I feel like you have to give that at least some time. Now, if it's terrible, that's a different conversation.
Yeah, if they drop from 9-3 to 6-6, it's a different story.
But if it looks like how Florida looked with DJ Lagway, where he's clearly good, give it some time, then I think you're fine. Now, if it's bad, then we might be having that conversation. But, like, where do you go?
I mean, I am not on the bus just yet that it'll be DeBoer's last season. I'm just saying, in the fan base of Alabama fans that feel like they've been God's favorite child for the last 15, 20 years.
And two of those in a row will not feel good to those people. But also, I think you got to. It's hard to do this as a fan, but I think you'd have to reassess and be like, this is not the same college football that we were winning in.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, this same situation may have happened. Actually, probably would have happened if Nick Saban was still the coach.
Yeah.
Milroe's still your quarterback.
Yeah.
Maybe your defense is a little better, but
there's no guarantee of
There's no guarantee, and that's the point of this whole thing, right? I think it's just, if you're an SEC homer, you probably hate it, but it feels a lot more even just because, let's just say nobody was getting paid for fun, right? You can believe whatever you want to believe. I'm going to, just for this exercise, let's believe nobody was getting paid in college football ever. And people just chose to go to SEC schools because that's where they chose to go.
Yeah.
Well, now it's even. Because if Syracuse can give you the bag, what's the point of going to Alabama?
Yeah.
If you're getting the bag and you're probably going to be a pro anyway, like you're seeing in college basketball already.
Yeah.
You got dudes playing for Rutgers. Rutgers. You know what I mean? So I think it's very interesting to see where we go from here in terms of what the SEC does, how the SEC recruits. Obviously, the big brands are still the big brands. But again, at the same time, if Wyoming wanted to all of a sudden start paying people, you're going to find 5 stars at Wyoming. I have a feeling. That's how Colorado, you've seen it. Julian Lewis is going there because he's going to get the bag.
Yeah.
And Dion, obviously, is the huge, massive part of that. I'm not going to argue with that. But SEC got to be a little worried. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying about the SEC.
No, that's a fair way to put it.
And I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an SEC homer like I want Texas to win or Georgia to win or whatever. I root for one team and one team only.
Right.
Past that, couldn't care less about the rest of the league.
Agreed.
Now, and I'm probably not the only one. I would say it would be my theory, but I think it's probably everyone's theory when they think about it long and hard enough. Every so often, it's like college football as a whole is a living organism that knows it has to kill something to survive. And I think by doing that, it evolves a new piece. And that was, say, in the 90s, you went from the AP selecting whoever won the national title to the BCS.
Mm-hmm.
At the BCS for 13, 14 years, they got tired of it, said, well, this is bad, awful, whatever. You get the LSU-Alabama game twice. Nobody cares, whatever. You get the playoff evolves. In the midst of that, you get paying players in NIL. And every so often, there's a coach or a league or something or whatever that dies with it. And maybe the SEC's dominance is going to die with it with the NIL. Much like a coaching career can either die or the coach is going to opt to say, like Saban, I'm going to retire.
Sure.
I think NIL, and I think Saban has said that NIL was a major piece of why he stepped away.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you are seeing that.
Yeah,
not just in, 100%. You saw it in college basketball with
the Syracuse guy. Or no,
Miami.
It was another coach. Yeah,
Miami's coach.
He just stepped away. He's like, I'm done. My heart's out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this. I don't blame him.
No.
It's you go from being a coach to now you're a general manager.
I mean, Mac Brown just got out. Now, granted, the argument there is Bill Belichick got in, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. But I agree with what you're saying.
And with that, everything kind of is cyclical. There, you get X amount of years per coach that's really dominant. Where Saban was 07 to 23, so 16 years at Alabama. Look at I'm just rattling off like you got Rick that had X amount of years, you had Philip Fulmer that had X amount of years before something changed or whatever. I think it's about 12 to 15 years is what a coach can get before something changes and they're done.
Urban Meyer's probably in there somewhere.
Urban 100% is.
Two different schools, but yeah.
Well, yeah. Between Bowling, Utah, Florida, and Ohio State.
Well, I just meant I mean, if you're talking about dominant, like Florida to Ohio State, that run.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, granted, it was during, obviously, Saban's thing as well. But, no, I think you're onto something. I think it's a good thought.
And like looking at Kirby, that was year 8. We're going into year 9. Theoretically, he's young, but he's on the back half of this Georgia career.
Yes.
So he's got to make hay and do something. But what if the shift in NIL, as dominant, as good as Georgia is, and the brand that they are, and they can recruit, what if something has changed and it's going to change the landscape where Georgia's now leveled the playing field, or the playing field is leveled to Georgia, and you get the Notre Dames that can come in and beat you, or stuff like that. I mean, it's something we have to genuinely consider because, and the SEC could very well not be the dominant conference. But we could also see that there's no longer a dominant conference.
Which is probably a good thing, though, huh?
It's a great thing.
Like, here, living in Florida, obviously, I feel like most people feel a certain type of way towards the SEC. I mean, unless you're a Florida State fan, or Miami, you're talking ACC. But the general area where we're in, it feels very SEC, and that's just kind of how it's always felt.
I see more Florida, more Georgia, and surprisingly more Tennessee plates, not including
Georgia's
myself.
Good one. Yeah, you got one. A big old sticker.
Well, the sticker doesn't matter. I'm talking like the little plate on the front of the car. I see more of those than I do Miami, than I do Florida State, than I do UCF, USF, any of the small, like any school in the state of Florida. I see those three more, at least here in Jacksonville and Duval County, more than I do any other team in the state. So it is very SEC centric, at least in this region. You get West, you get West, you may get more ACC. You get South, you may get more ACC. But
where we
here,
are,
at least, it's very SEC.
And to go back to Georgia and your point, and this is probably something that Hamby would obviously be better to talk about, but from my perspective, for Georgia, where are you going?
Yeah.
Sure, you've got a ton of 5 stars. I get that. But you won your national championships. That's cool. Happy for you. I'm not actually, but happy for you. Where are you projecting Georgia to go? Like, they're Georgia, so they're going to win 8-9 times. But at the current moment, and I understand this season's not even over, so to talk about next season is kind of foul, but at the current moment, I don't think anyone's projecting Georgia wins a national title next year. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And I don't think it's wrong to talk about the season being over for teams that aren't playing. If you aren't Ohio State and Notre Dame, it's done. You can talk about them. Losing Beck, especially to Miami, is going to hurt. Hamby said yesterday, he said, if you're a Georgia fan, you want Beck back. No, you don't. You've seen everything Beck's going to give you, 2 years of it. He's not going to be the guy to get you to the national title game.
Agreed, but I don't think the guy that you have is going to be that guy either.
Not yet. I don't agree either because he had a good point. You had a guy with 2 years experience versus a guy with 6 quarters. Mm-hmm. But it's the SEC, and much like DJ Lagway, when you start a young guy who's inexperienced, the more he plays, the better he gets.
Agreed with that.
Playing in the hardest league in the country, or one of the hardest leagues in the country, we'll probably have to say now, not the hardest anymore, develop somebody very fast. And I think that's, like, Nico struggled, but you saw it a little bit. Like, once he hit that first stretch of SEC play, it was rough. Mm-hmm. Got better as the year went, peaked at the end.
No, that was a good decision.
Yeah,
for Tennessee to play. Not that they had any option.
Yeah,
but to play him.
To look at Billy, I'm sure Florida fans are scratching their head. Why weren't you starting DJ the first 6 games? Now he went with the senior to give the senior the chance to have the season. I get, but I know Billy had to feel the heat at some point and said, you know what, I need to.
He felt the heat after week 1 when they got boat raced by Miami at home.
Yeah, and Mertz getting hurt. Really and truthfully, I feel bad for Mertz.
Saved his job.
Yeah,
because I don't know that Lagway was going in. We were not going to see Lagway in that capacity.
No.
Sorry, Graham Mertz. I mean,
as a Tennessee fan, not a Florida fan, I appreciate you for the 2.5, 3 years, whatever it was he spent at Florida. Props to him for that. He stuck it out in an age of college football. He didn't have to. Sorry that you got hurt, bud. It was a non-contact, so I don't think it was a dirty play by anyone in Tennessee. Mm-mm. So it just happened. It was very unfortunate, but it was.
I forgot that was against Tennessee. Yeah.
Yeah, because he just went. He
went down.
I hate seeing that. I don't want anybody to ever get hurt. But
yeah, no, it is interesting. I think with the SEC, I think it brings up a lot of conversation, and again, I think it's a good thing. We'll see where it goes from here. YB says this college football playoffs was kind of entertaining this year. I'll give you that. Like,
the first round wasn't. You had a bunch of blowouts. The second round got better, but it wasn't
the best game. I still feel like we're going to say the best game was Arizona State, Texas.
Oh, 100%.
I don't think the national championship is going to be better.
100%.
Texas
Arizona State was almost
one of the best games ever.
Yeah,
classic. Joe Tessitore on the call. Shout out to him.
He was phenomenal, by the way.
Phenomenal. Really good at wrestling too, and they're not letting him do it anymore, so that's a bummer. Or I think he's going to do SmackDown now. But anyway, real quick on Texas and Quinn Ewers.
He got to go. He's got to transfer.
He's got to transfer because I imagine this is going to go somewhat similar to the Carson Beck. I'm going to the draft. No wait, LOL. I'm going to Syracuse. Something like that.
Yeah. Or he goes back to Ohio State.
No, I don't. I mean, I think they have what's his name.
But in the landscape, Julian saying, yeah, it's probably going next year because Aaron Noland is already transferred.
Aaron Noland is at South Carolina, which didn't make a ton of sense because
isn't he from South Carolina?
I don't know that part. The part that doesn't make sense to me is what's his name is going to play is like Sellers.
Goggles.
So he's like obviously
he's from College Park, Georgia.
Nobody knows who's going to win the Heisman next year, obviously. But I don't know why I can't think of his first name, but his last name is Sellers. Thank you, Lenore Sellers, who is the quarterback for South Carolina, is like on the Heisman next year list, which means absolutely nothing. But he's very much their quarterback. And then they have another 4-star in Dante Reno that's like sitting there at quarterback. So then he comes in as interesting. So I think Sayin will be the guy for Ohio State. But anyway, the Quinn Ewers thing. Mm-hmm. It's not that he's bad, but it doesn't scream to me that he's good.
Yeah. He's just...
The only way I can describe it is when I watch Quinn Ewers play football, I feel like he has zero sense of urgency. And which could be a good thing, like in the NFL. Like, he just feels very calm all the time. But at sometimes it's like too calm and too like... Just I'm just here so I don't get fined energy. Like, I don't really know how to explain it. But it doesn't make me have any sense of urgency watching him play football. I'm like, all right, what are we doing? Like, I don't the Quinn Ewers thing is so interesting. And to Sarkisian real quick. I respect the fact that he was loyal to his guy. But at times when your offense is not moving a centimeter, how do you not go to Arch Manning and just see? They go to him one play. And did you see that play, by the way?
What play?
When Arch Manning got decapitated? So he gets the first down. It was pretty slick. I don't understand how we didn't talk about that for targeting at any point. And not that anybody actually knows the rules of anything anymore in college football or NFL football. What's a catch? I don't know. What's targeting? I don't know. Helmet to helmet? Who knows? As far as I'm concerned, dude launched helmet to helmet straight with Arch Manning, and the ball comes out is what people were talking about. It was not ruled a fumble. It was ruled a first down by contact. Move the chains. Here comes Quinn Ewers. But to me, when I'm watching it, I'm like, he just launched helmet to helmet it, bro, and we didn't even mention it. So I thought that was odd. But the Sarkisian thing to never go to Arch Manning, I still think is somewhat surprising. And just, I don't know, just because it felt like there were so many times where Texas did not move the football, you put that guy in to see what happens.
Yeah.
But again, I respect his loyalty, but I don't think you can ever assume that you're going to be back in that position, even if you're Texas. So to get there and to not at least give it a try, I think was not necessarily the right move for Sarkisian.
Yeah, I'm looking at the play that Manning got hit. That should be targeting.
Shouldn't it?
That's in a really sketchy area at the base of the back of the head. Dude, that could kill somebody.
I'm telling you, if you watched the broadcast, they never, ever mention it at any point about targeting. They're like looking at the fumble. They've got the replay review guy in. They're like, he's like, oh, his wrist is down. I was like, I've never heard that before in my life, that his wrist was down, but okay. And they just keep showing the replay. I'm like, he launches at him helmet to helmet. Like, how is no one seeing what I'm seeing here? And it never came up.
Yeah.
They ruled it down by contact, moved the chains, never mentioned it again. And I was like, that's definitely targeting, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I thought that was odd. I'm not really sure what happened there. But
did they rule that a fumble?
They did not. They ruled him down by contact.
I was about to say his knee's down.
Apparently his wrist was down, according to broadcast guy. Replay review expert guy.
Knee, wrist, whatever. It's all down pretty much the same time.
I've just never heard
He's about a half step from an ACL tear in that right leg.
It was not a beautiful play. It was not the most aesthetically pleasing play in the history of college football. He almost got decapitated. He almost tore his ACL. The play was almost blown up in the backfield. That was the extent of Arch Manning's college football semifinal appearance, which probably should have been more, but what do I know? Last thing on this, and I meant to say it earlier when you were talking about SEC. I still feel like if Ole Miss got in, they had a shot.
Oh, 100%.
They were healthy, so much talent, so much NFL first round, second round talent. I think Jackson Dart is good. Like, who got it? Who was the last team? Clemson? They had to get in. Who was? Oh, SMU.
Yeah.
Who did SMU play first round? Penn State? Yeah, Penn State.
Yeah. Because they had the back-to-back pick sixes or whatever.
Wouldn't have been a great matchup for Ole Miss. But I stand by my statement. If Ole Miss gets in, I think they're in the conversation, at least. Because I think the Ole Miss team that was playing, and I'm not saying this because they ran Duke out of the Gator Bowl, because that was expected.
Yeah.
But if that team that showed up to the Gator Bowl that was healthy only had, I think, one opt-out, and that guy doesn't opt out, and he's their best receiver, by the way. He doesn't opt out if they're in the college football playoff. If that team plays that Georgia team that was in the college football playoff, I think Ole Miss beats them again. So, maybe Lane Kiffin was on something with the tweets. I lied. This is the last thing. Carson Beck, Miami, are you in? Are you out? Do you care? Does it matter? If it didn't matter with Cam Ward, I don't know how it matters with Carson Beck.
Beck's better than Ward, if you want my honest opinion.
At football?
Yeah.
Carson Beck is better than Cam Ward?
Was it you that I gave the comp of Ward being Jamarcus Russell?
No.
That's my comp for him.
This is wild.
So this must have been Hamby that I comped him there.
What did Hamby say? Did he say that you're an idiot?
Don't remember. Probably not. I think you probably agree with me.
Okay, you both are idiots.
I think somebody in the chat that day did agree with me, though.
You both are morons. What are you talking about?
Lazy or a bit lackadaisical, a little bit like he doesn't push the narrative. He's like Ewers when he's like, he's so calm. It's almost too calm. That's Ward. Ward's just like, I'm back here. I'll just wait till somebody might get open. We got like all day back here. Like push the narrative a little bit. I think Beck will be okay at Miami. They're going to go probably 10-2, 11-1, be in the ACC, whatever. I don't know. It was kind of a dead to rights giveaway. Everybody knew where he was going.
Yes, correct.
Like who the girlfriend is, one of the Cavender twins, boom, straight to Miami. I mean, it wasn't even 24 hours.
It was not.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not shocked. I mean, it's the least surprising. It was more surprising that he, like, if you would ask me this a month ago, or not a month ago, whenever he declared, been like, what is most likely right now? He get drafted in the NFL or plays for the Miami Hurricanes. He was going to play for the Miami Hurricanes the whole time because he wasn't going to play for the Miami Dolphins. And bro's trying to secure the bag with the girlfriend. She's like a multi-million-dollar NIL person, as is he, by the way. But I think you're out of your mind with the Cam Ward, Carson Beck situation.
I don't. I'll tell you right now, in the draft, who the best quarterback is. And it's going to go back to your point a minute ago about Ole Miss. It's Jackson Dart.
I like Jackson Dart. I like him a lot. He's not the best quarterback in the draft.
Best quarterback in the class.
No, I'm not with you. Okay.
It's not Shador.
I didn't say that.
It's not Ward.
I said that. Well, I didn't say that, but I
don't even know who else is in the draft, but I'm going to tell you right now.
Those are the
Jackson Dart.
I like Jackson.
The other two.
Jackson Dart feels very...
He feels very Eli Manning. Most yards in school history, most wins in school history, so on and so forth at Ole Miss. Who was the last guy to do that coming to Ole Miss? It was Eli Manning. Now, that's not to say a whole lot because Eli Manning is the definition of average.
2-time Super Bowl champ.
Not even off his play.
Okay.
Like, Buddy had to stick him on a helmet and the other guy.
That's fine.
I'm not really that much of a hater, but I'm saying he finished at 500.
Great.
And then he just passing yards was kind of average. He ranked somewhere in the top 15, I think.
Love that. I would kill. You hear me? I would kill if that's what happened in Jacksonville. If Trevor Lawrence ended up 500 as a record with 2 Super Bowls, I would kill. Okay?
Yeah. No, I get it.
I'd be on a most wanted list because I'd be killing. Okay, that's how bad I would love 500.
Number one wanted.
Not even no. I'm talking FBI.
Mm-hmm.
They have my picture up in Quantico.
FBI, Interpol.
All right,
Buddy's International.
I kill for 500. But I'm not with you on Eli Manning because Eli Manning. What pick was Eli Manning in the draft?
What, 1 or 2?
2, right? So my thing with Jackson Dart, and this is not a style of play comp. This is an NFL draft, how it plays out comp. Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson, last pick of the first round. People were passing on him, although you knew he was talented. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Jackson Dart because I think Hamby was saying this, or me and Hamby were talking about this. I don't know. And I agree with him if he said this. If he didn't say it, then I'm putting words in his mouth. But I think Jackson Dart's going to be incredible at the combine. He's fast, throws a good football, strong. Like I think he's going to have a good performance at the combine. We'll see what that does for his draft stock. But I agree with you. I think he can play in the NFL. I don't know how great he would be, but I do think he's an NFL quarterback. But the Cam Ward thing is just a wild thing to say, Nick. Absolute wild thing to say. Big Cam Ward guy here. Now, I
didn't attack you, boy. That's why.
That may be because I have some Cam Ward autographs to sell on my eBay. Actually, they're not on my eBay. This is diabolical. Got them on a pylon, Nick.
Mm.
So I got stickers for the first couple teams that need a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Sticker that bad boy up the night of the draft. Throw it on eBay as it's happening. Ho-ho! It's going to be a fat sale, Nick. I promise you that. I hope he's the first pick. I promise you that. Should we break? I don't think we should break.
Nah.
I'm going to just transition. Smoothest transition of all time. Into the NFL and the NFL playoffs. Some best bets. YB says, smells like a LA minus 2.5 and a Baltimore minus 9.5 type of parlay today. YB, I have some thoughts on that. Real quick, though, last week, the best bets, not a terrible showing for the boy. Jamar Chase had over on the receiving yards. Mike Evans had the under. Texans won money line, which all of those were on the best bets. Drake London in the same game parlay did have 50 yards receiving. Bijan Robinson did score a touchdown, so that same gamer hit. Jags and Colts was over 44 total points. Rico Dowdle scored. Aaron Rodgers threw 2 touchdowns, which was dope because that was plus money. Cortland Sutton got the 80-plus receiving yards. Chargers, Raiders went over on their total points. A couple of losses, which I am not happy about. Keon Coleman did not score, so that was hard to swallow. But hopefully you were not an idiot like me, because my genius thought there was I need him to score a touchdown so badly for the before the season prop. I'm going to bet him to score again, so then I'm winning double when he scores. And then he didn't score, so I actually lost double. This is what happened there. Donta Foreman didn't score for the Browns. Real quick on the Browns, Deshaun Watson.
Oh, yeah. Tearing the ACL again? Or the Achilles?
Yeah. Sounds like all of 25 he may be out.
They, clear $40 million in cap space or something because of the injury? They don't have to pay him something? Something like
that would make sense.
$40 million?
That would make sense. Lucky.
Yeah.
I don't, here's the thing. You said it earlier. I'm not rooting for anybody to get hurt ever.
Yeah.
And this isn't, don't get me wrong, do not like Deshaun Watson. But this, what I'm about to say is more of a Browns thing. The Browns deserve this. To go out and pay this dude that no one was going to pay this money, screw up all the quarterback contracts, all the crap that the Browns did, They deserve this happening. Deshaun Watson, I don't think deserved to get hurt. I'm not rooting for people to get hurt.
No.
But the Browns deserve for this to go poorly for them. And I wish they would have to pay him all the money.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that screwed this thing up. But nonetheless, the Browns stink. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they draft quarterback now. I don't know. But
as bad as the Jags are, we've never been as bad as the Browns.
It feels like it, though.
It doesn't.
No, it does.
It doesn't.
No, it does.
We don't go out and sign Deshaun Watson, who's got all the allegations.
They signed Nick Foles.
Contract. Well, Nick Foles...
$88 million when they signed him. He played 4 games for the Jags. Now, don't get me wrong. Nick Foles is a model human.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there. But the Nick Foles thing was pretty bad.
And this was Foles coming off the Super Bowl? Or a year after the Super Bowl?
The year after. The one where they didn't win. But yeah. They signed him. And it's not his fault he broke his collarbone on the first game of the season against the Chiefs. We'll see you And then Minshew came in, and then we went back to they went back to Foles, and then Foles was terrible, and that was it. And they cut Foles, and we move, or maybe they traded him. I don't remember. But no, it definitely feels just as bad. Like, the only reason it's not as bad is, like, when the people go to the Browns games and watch them lose, it's like negative degrees, 0 and snowing. At least it's not that here. Still miserable, still not fun, but it's very similar. But anyway, and I guess the Jags don't have that big, long quarterback list that the Browns do. Jags have ran out some bums, but not as many bums as the Browns. So anyway, those were the best bets last week. This week, first game, Chargers, Texans. Texans win the AFC South. Chargers, a wild card team. Wild card team favored on the road, the Chargers are. Best bet, I'm going Ladd McConkey, former Georgia standout. 75.5 receiving yards is the number. Give me the over. 6 of his last 7 games, he's gone over 76 yards receiving. No Josh Palmer. Quentin Johnston, questionable. And even if he does play, not 100%. Also, Quentin Johnston, known for dropping the football. Not catching, dropping the football. So that's a little bit of a concern. Texans are very good against the run. J.K. Dobbins has been good this year. They have multiple running backs they use with the Chargers. Haskins from Michigan, very much involved. The Gus Bus, very much involved. J.K. Dobbins involved as well. Texans are good against the run. Ladd McConkey's the only super safe option. He's been a good option for Justin Herbert. 76-yard receiving. Give me, or 75.5. Give me the over. Yeah, YB, if you're still here, here's where I'm at on this. Steelers-Ravens, second game of the day. Before the last month, I would tell you that the Steelers always play close football. The last month, they've sucked terribly. It's been rough for the Steelers. This is all I'll say in terms of the Baltimore minus 9.5. Since Lamar took over for the Ravens, in the postseason, they're 2-5, which is a very known stat people talk about. Only one of those wins was over a 9-point win. One, they won by 7, and then they blew the heck out of the Texans last year. Pause, but they blew the heck out of the Texans. So, with that being said, I don't love Baltimore minus 9.5. I actually go Steelers plus 9.5 because I don't think they can keep playing this poorly. I think the Steelers keep it close. I think the Steelers lose. I just don't see Baltimore going in and just beating the crap out of them. Or I should rephrase. I don't see the Steelers coming in and Baltimore beating the crap out, and that game is in Baltimore. So I like Steelers 9.5 more than plus 9.5 more than the Ravens at minus 9.5, just because of the history, and I think the Steelers are due to play a close football game. That's all I'm saying, YB. That's all I'm saying. OHIO. Yeah, we did some of that. I think Notre Dame wins the whole thing. We did some of that. All I'm saying. We talked a little bit about Ohio State. Actually, a lot about Ohio State earlier in their advancement to the college football playoff national championship game next Monday. I always hate that, by the way. I know the NFL's on Sunday, but I've always hated the national championship being on a Monday.
Yeah.
It's not great.
It should be on the traditional college football day.
I like that. I like
Saturdays.
That a lot. Yeah. I will say they've done
perfect day. I mean,
perfect. I mean, the NFL's on. That's the thing. They've done somewhat of a gnarly job here in terms of, I'm fine with the Thursday, Friday thing that they've been doing. I was wondering what was happening with you. I was like, what is he really?
I had to sneeze.
I know. I thought you were trying to think about what I was saying. I was like, I haven't even made my point yet. But I think they've done a nice job with the Thursday, Friday, the way that they've worked with the NFL and how the schedule. It's been good for the most part. But the national championship being on Monday is something I've always hated.
Yeah,
do not like it at all. Buckeyes about to smoke Notre Dame.
I don't want that. I want a good game. God forbid, I don't want Georgia TCU again.
I forget. You know how often I forget that game happened?
I think everybody forgot because it's just stupidly how the score went.
Matt, I'm not defending anybody here, but in the way I see it, there's one of two options. One, it's close because Notre Dame plays defense and keeps Ohio State keeps it close. I think Notre Dame wins, but that's the more likely scenario in my opinion. But I'm not going to not acknowledge the fact that Ohio State could put 14 up on them in the first 8 minutes and it's over. Because that's what they did that's what they've done in these playoffs, the first two matchups they had. And then, obviously, last night was a little bit different than that. But, like, those are the two likely scenarios. It's a 3-point game or it's a absolute blowout for Ohio State. So, I think you should have a reason to be excited if you're an Ohio State fan. We'll see. And to your point there, it is hard to... If you go look at the Notre Dame history of the last time they've been in the playoffs or the last few times they've been in the playoffs, it's hard to trust them. But I just think I like their defense. I think we said this earlier. I like their defense. I think they run the football a little bit better than Ohio State does. It'll come down to, can Notre Dame keep those receivers kind of locked up? And if they can't, then I think they lose big. If they can, I think it's a close football game. So that's where we're at on that. Broncos-Bills, the first game tomorrow? There are 3 games today? There's 2 games today. I'm going to go first game tomorrow, Broncos-Bills, because I'm almost positive there's 3 games on Sunday. We talked a little bit about the Broncos earlier, just briefly, with Bo Nix, rookie quarterback, going into Buffalo. That will be tough. Broncos play unbelievable defense. So give me... The total points are 48, just straight up 48. I almost said half, but it's 48. Give me the under. Give me the under. Denver, their defense is unbelievable. 18.3 points a game, given up, less than 20. 15 interceptions this year, 63 sacks for the Denver defense. The Buffalo offense is explosive. I get that. Not sure what the weather is looking like for tomorrow, but it will definitely be cold. I can confirm that. No Amari Cooper. Not sure how much that limits the Buffalo offense because Josh Allen just does his thing. But nonetheless, I don't think this is a high-scoring game. I think you're in like a 24-17 area just because I don't think that the Broncos defense will let it get out of hand. It'll be on the Denver offense to figure out how to score some points because the Bills also play defense. But I just respect Denver's defense too much, and I think 48 is a lot of points going against that Denver defense. So give me the under on 48 total points. Packers-Eagles, second game tomorrow. Love me some Packers. Absolutely. 32 and cloudy. That's it?
Yeah. 32 cloudy, 12% chance of rain.
That's it?
Yep.
It's almost 32 and cloudy here. What do you mean?
That's part of the Weather Channel.
It's 47 here. It doesn't feel like 47. Tomorrow's supposed to be 55. Shout out Florida. Still, give me the under. Doesn't change the defense. If anything, makes it better for the defense.
I'm with you. I want the Packers to win so bad.
Okay, yeah, Packers
Let
Eagles. So, big Packers guy here. I'm going Packers +5. If you, and this doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to give it to you. If you add 5 points to every Packers game this year, or every Packers loss, I should say, because the wins, it doesn't matter. But if you add 5 points to every Packers loss this year, they go from 11-6 to 15-1-1. They tied. All the snow passed last night up here. Damn. It's lucky. 15-1-1 for the Packers if you add 5 points to every loss they had this year. They do not lose big. They play the Eagles week 1. That would be the one tie, by the way, if you add 5 points to every loss that they had. That game was in Brazil. Things were very odd in that one. I just like the Packers. I don't have a ton here. I like the Packers. I also like the Eagles. Obviously, this comes down to Saquon Barkley and what the Packers can do against him. Josh Jacobs, obviously, a big factor for the Packers. Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is the better passer of the 2 quarterbacks. By the way, Jalen Hurts cleared concussion protocol. He will play in the football game if you hadn't heard that one just yet. But I think Jordan Love is the better passer, but he's also more prone to making mistakes. He does throw a lot of interceptions for the amount of time he throws the football, so it'll be on him to not make those mistakes. But I think 5 is too many points for the Packers. Eagles may win, but I think 5 is too many points for the Packers, although I will be rooting for the Packers. Big bet last year, by the way. We didn't know each other yet, Nick, but one of the bigger bets I hit last year was Packers money line against the Cowboys in that playoff game. They blew them out. I don't remember what the odds and stuff like that were, but I very much bet on the Packers, and they very much won the football game large. Matt says Ravens, Chargers, Bills, Packers, Bucks. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about Yeah, I think that's about where I'm at. Overall, the last best bet is for the Bucs game. They will be at home. They will play the Commanders. Give me the Commanders +3. I'm very intrigued to see if that gets to 3.5 Vikings. I knew I was forgetting something. Give me the Commanders +3. I'm intrigued to see if that goes to 3.5. If it definitely goes to 3, if it goes to 3.5, I'm definitely very intrigued by it, just because of that half. I think is big. Commanders play close football. They're playing well right now, and the Bucs. The thing with the Bucs could go out and win by 20, and I'd be like, yeah, the Bucs do that. The Bucs go out and lose by 20, I'd be like, yeah, the Bucs occasionally don't show up. So I think if you take those two sides of the spectrum, which are both possible, and you bring it in a little bit, I think that gives you somewhat of a close football game. Because I think the Bucs will show up, so I don't think you're getting a stinker, but I don't think the Commanders are going to get blown out even on the road, even with rookie quarterback. I think he's been good. He's been composed. No reason to believe that he's just going to throw that all away now. So, going to be Commanders +3, Packers +5, under 48 in Bills Broncos, Steelers +9.5, Ladd McConkey 75.5 receiving yards. Give me the over on that for the best bets in the NFL games. Boom, 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 Nick. We move.
We move.
We move.
Where are we moving to?
I got to roll. Well, we're moving to a break. That's what I'm thinking as well, that the Bucs game will be close. That's why I like the Commanders getting the points, especially if it goes to a half. If it gets that 3.5, I'm already in, but like I'm super in if it gets to the 3.5. We'll see. Commanders have been not sneaky. Commanders have been good. And shout out to them. The Commanders give the bad teams like the Jags hope that they could flip it. Commanders flipped it. Jags could flip it.
Yeah.
Jags ain't going to flip it.
Probably not, because they'll hire the wrong guy.
Jags are never going to. And who would have thought Dan Quinn, the right guy? Jags could have hired. You know how many times the Jags could have hired Dan Quinn? Honestly. Well, so many. But anyway. All right, I got to roll.
Okay.
So, we're going to go to break on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. If you're watching on social media, we appreciate you. Come back next week. If you're on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network, or actually, let me rephrase. If you're on social media, I take my wave back. Go to the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network if you like wrestling, because as you see, how do I do this every week? Just right there. The Scrap House with. I don't know why I can't do
a compilation of these every week.
I don't know why I can't do this. Scrap House with Austin and Casey. We're back for 2025. We weren't sure if we were going to be back, but we are back. We do it on Wednesday nights live. But if you're on the network, next is this week's show of the Scrap House, talking about the Raw debut on Netflix. We are now talking about a SmackDown, which was not last night, but the week before. So if you're like, hey, what the heck are they talking about? Why are they talking about Tiffany Stratton just now cashing in? That's because this show was on Wednesday. So technically it's from the past, not the future. And on Wednesday, we'll be talking about this week's SmackDown and this week's Raw and AEW as well. But coming up next on the network, you can see that show from this week, me and Austin Lane. You know him from Brent and Austin. You know him from all the various things that Austin does. He's very much a famous person. And you will see in this episode, Austin Lane doing this show from a $20 Airbnb.
20? What?
Yeah. I proceed to.
How do you find an Airbnb that cheap?
Yeah, I said to him, I was like,
Craigslist joint.
I was like, Austin, you're a famous person. You can't be doing this type of stuff. And he gets very uncomfortable when you call him a famous person, by the way. So if you ever see Austin Lane in public, please call him a famous person because he'll get very uncomfortable. So you will see $20 Airbnb, Austin Lane, and myself talking wrestling. After the break, me and Nick will do it again next week. Until then, enjoy the wrestling talk. Nick, hit the break. Let's go.